I'm here to talk about the new project, the Online Homelessness Services Portal, bit of a mouthful. So in terms of the project, hopefully you have seen some of the information come out. Obviously there was an initial ministerial release from Minister Carey in regards to that a couple of weeks ago, and subsequent to that we've been really I guess trying to be out there as much as possible and starting having the conversations and recruiting people into this process, because it very much is a co-design approach with those people involved, which involves service providers, obviously, on lived experience. Just to give you a bit of the project context, and I guess it goes back to the fact that this has been, I think, a little while coming, and just to refresh people in terms of where this has been, this is stemmed from. So obviously we have the All Paths Lead to Home WA strategy, the 10-year strategy that the department came up with, and that brought forward a number of key issues that were identified within the sector. One of those being the sort of limited visibility of the bed count, and the need for better transparency over availability of accommodation and coordination across the sector, and access for those people who are seeking accommodation in that moment. You know, the issues of multiple retelling of stories and the challenges around that trust and relationship that happens. Obviously, there's some fantastic work, and has been talked about today, with a lot of the projects with the Zero Project and the by name lists really focusing in. But there was part of this 10-year strategy was around looking at that broader cohort of people and what can be done in that space. The portal was funded specifically from that, so it was one of the strategies, the key strategies that kind of came about, and then following on from that there was the No Wrong Door report, which hopefully, I'm sure there was a number of you involved in that process as well, which was a co-design approach, and really exploring, well, what would a No Wrong Door approach look like, and one of the things that came from that is the idea of a portal or an online platform that hosted a lot of the information that could act as a bit of a front door for people navigating the system, along with a host of other initiatives that need to sit alongside it to also strengthen that No Wrong Door approach and create that systems change. So the project itself, what is it? It is, you know, as I said, an online platform that acts as that front door to accommodation, and it's about trying to improve the experience for those people accessing service. There are, I guess, and I think this question will come up probably, is this is not going to resolve homelessness. You know, this is not a one-size-fits-all solution to anything, but it is one of the pieces of the puzzle, I guess, that moves us towards that systems change that the department is striving for. And so this is a piece that will move us in that direction. The project was funded, so Department of Communities commissioned the project and awarded it to a consortium. So I'm from Anglicare WA, and we are part of that consortium that is led by Info Exchange. I'm sure lots of people who are in service provider land will know of Info Exchange being one of the Melbourne-based tech company who hold and design the databases that hold all the accommodation and data around our services. So they know a lot about this space. Also involved in the consortium is Anthology. They are a Perth-based technology company who basically specialise in that user experience. So the front end, what will the portal look like? How will people interact with it? And that's their thing. Innovation unit, so Jethro Sercombe and his team, Claire Dodd and Matt Norman, they are involved in the design process. So that's their focus, is about understanding the user's needs, getting that information out from people, and then feeding that to Anthology and Info Exchange to create and inform what the portal actually looks like. My role is about basically getting this information out there, engaging with service providers and people with lived experience to get the voices and get the right people involved to help inform this along the way, and make sure that the right people are, well, not the right people, that people who have the voice are included in that. Department of Communities and the Office of Homelessness are obviously, so Department of Communities funded the project. Office of Homelessness, like Jackie, Andrea and Gail Mitchell are all really heavily invested in this project and actually active participants, which I think is just awesome. So they're really invested in the project and being part of this and seeing it as that systems change. So it's fantastic to have that kind of support from the department. Obviously, we also have sector involvement. That's a critical part of this. So whilst we're talking about the improved, the idea that the portal improves lived experience navigation, the back end of this is also about service providers, about who are entering data and information and using info exchange. And the idea is that using info exchange, I guess, as the lead agency, they can ensure that there's integration with the systems that already exist and create efficiencies there for service providers to make sure that it's not duplicating other tasks and make sure that it looks and feels easy and easy to navigate for the service providers as well. And because obviously this is about systems change, there's a lot of conversations that will flow from how the system works already, what's the current experience, how does that look and work with a portal, and how do those things engage with or interact with things like the by name list with Entry Point Perth, and how does that fit within that ecosystem of other projects that are happening. And so it's a huge part of the project is around that sector conversations and opportunities to participate. So I'll talk about those opportunities in a minute. Lived experience is also the other one, which of course is absolutely critical to this. So being influenced and led in terms of the development of the portal by those who are navigating and have experience of navigating the system. And we have a range of opportunities for people to participate depending on where they're at in their journey, whether they feel they can commit to being part of an ongoing advisory group, or whether they can, contribute through an interview on a one-to-one basis. And we're looking at covering a range of different cohorts to make sure that we feed into that diversity as well, because this is for everyone. So, it makes it a bit challenging in that sense. I will keep rolling unless there's any specific questions, and then maybe we can do a bit of question and answer at the end. If that's okay, unless there's anything that's burning that anyone wants to jump in and ask. Happy to do that? Okay, we'll do a Q&A at the end if there's anything specific. So the portal project, how will it happen? So as I said, this is kind of Innovation Unit's baby in that sense, in terms of designing a process that really brings about conversation and deep discussions to understand what is it that the user is experiencing now and what should it look like or could it look like in the future. And this, and again, covering both groups, it's not just about lived experience, we also have that service provider input as well, and both are really essential into making this something that's usable and that works and that is valued by both the sector and people seeking accommodation. We've had early conversations already and we've started organising some of these things. So hopefully you've seen some of the information that's out there, and I know that some of you have signed up because I've seen your names. So that's awesome. Both within that broad sector workshop, which is about understanding the lay of the land, what else is out there, all of these initiatives that people have been talking about today. And also, obviously understanding that there's lots of different services that intersect, so corrective services and justice system, health, and all of those other aspects. There's also some specific service provider, like a design workshop, to really go more into the detail around how service provision intersects with this and what that looks like. We've got interviews and observations. So initially, so we've got some of those organised at some of the services. So I went and spoke with Entry Point Perth yesterday and did some observations with their team, which is just an incredible thing to actually sit in and be part of, listening and seeing how some of these services work to really understand the lay of the land. And interviews with individuals we're organising as well. The ongoing design team and lived experience group. So we've just done the recruitment stuff for this and going through this process. So the design team is probably, I guess, something similar to like a steering group traditionally, but is more involved in interrogating and testing some of the research and the ideas that the design team come forward with, and helping to influence and change that and challenge that So it's a bit more of a commitment, and the Lived Experience Advisory Group will have membership on the design team, along with service providers, along with department. So it's a real multidisciplinary team of people represented from all the different groups that are invested in that process. And that will happen throughout the course of the project, which is like, well, when is that project? Leads me to this slide, which is basically over the next 12 months. We've been a little bit delayed in start, like just waiting for things to kind of start moving. But now they have, we expect the development phase to take 12 months and then to be launching sometime in April next year, basically. And over the course of that, we'll have opportunities, as I said, the ongoing sort of commitments, but there'll also be opportunities to be involved in testing and feeding back on the portal. Those people who are part of the design team, they'll be asking them to take that back to their networks and asking other service providers to feed into that process. So it's a really, really collaborative process. Once it goes live, so in theory after April, Anglicare will play a role for the following 3 years, which will be just being there as a point of contact if there's any issues with the portal, to feedback to Info Exchange, and also seeking improvement and feedback to then pass through to make sure that kind of loop of communication continues, and promotes the portal, provide any training that's needed for service providers. The idea is obviously it should be easy to navigate and easy to use, so training should be minimal. And that's just a summary of the workshops and activities that are happening at the moment that we're organising. The broad sector workshop is still open for attendance, so if anyone wants to register, jump on today because it's your last chance to register to be part of that. The service provider workshops, design teams and lived experience group, we've closed the applications for those now. If you are desperate and you missed that and you feel devastated and passionate, please get in touch with me, because there's always room for conversations about opportunities to participate, whether that be through interviews or other means. And that is the end of that.